We're continuing to follow the breaking news. The U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the U.S. operation in Iran is, quote, just getting started. He told reporters this morning that the American and Israeli air forces will soon have what he calls complete control of Iranian skies' uncontested airspace. Listen to this.
This is not a mission accomplished situation. This is simply a reality check. The combination of U.S. and Israeli intelligence and combat power will control Iran, and will control it soon.
All right, let's discuss with Republican Congressman Mike McCaul of Texas. He's the chairman emeritus of both the House Foreign Affairs and House Homeland Security committees. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. Based on what you've learned so far in these briefings, and I know you've learned a lot, do you have a clear understanding right now of why the U.S. is at war with Iran?
Well, they say imminent threat. I would say the imminent threat goes back to 1979 when the revolution brought this dark veil of terror throughout the Middle East. And it's, Marines in Beirut to USS Cole, then thousands of Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so, look, they were getting close. They were rebuilding again. They were not negotiating in good faith. I think President Trump, he'll negotiate in good faith, but if you don't do that, there will be consequences. And I think you're seeing those today.
Congressman, I want to play some of what top members of the Trump administration, including the president himself, have said about the reason for this war. Watch and listen to this.
When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it.
They're probably a week away from having industrial grade bomb-making material.
After their nuclear program was obliterated, they were told not to try to restart it, and here they are. You can see them always trying to rebuild elements of it. They're not enriching right now, but they're trying to get to the point where they ultimately can.
And their swelling arsenal of ballistic missiles and killer drones are no longer tolerable risks. Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions.
We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties.
We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready, and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact because virtually everything they have has been knocked out now.
Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. And if you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
So, Congressman, what do you say to Americans who hear those differing reasons and wonder if there really was what was being described as an imminent threat to the United States that justifies the loss of U.S. service members?
Well, I think the imminent threat was, again, the rebuilding of the nuclear stockpile of the ballistic missiles, the ability to potentially put these in a warhead to deliver. They didn't have the ICBM, which would deliver to the United States, but they were working on that. I do think that we had intelligence where the Ayatollah was with his top cabinet leaders, and this is a prime opportunity to decapitate the leadership in Iran. So, the question is, why are we doing this? I would say for all the above reasons that you just heard from a litany of cabinet members and the president himself, talking about the fact that we were there because of the threat from Iran, the nuclear capability. You do have to look at the day after, though, as well. I think regime change is has a negative connotation to it, but you have to have, if you break it in the Middle East, you own it. And you also need to look at what happens the day after we do take control of the skies, we do destroy their military-industrial complex. I have every reason to believe that will happen. And then the question remains, what happens with the Iranian people and who's governing that country.
It sounds to me, Congressman, like you're planning to vote against this war powers resolution that's supposed to come up for a vote in the next few days. And that would require President Trump to get formal official approval from Congress for military action against Iran. First of all, can you confirm that's the case and tell us why?
Well, this is not an affirmative War Powers Act to authorize what the Congress has done. What it basically says, and it was put on the schedule before these attacks, by the way, on the congressional calendar, but this one basically says the president does not have authority to conduct the airstrikes that he did against Iran. I will be voting against that and speaking on the House floor in opposition to this. Is not the time to be tying the president's hands in a very, very important military operation. That the reason why I find this to be so important, Wolf, is that because Iran for 47 years has stood in the way of peace, true peace in the Middle East. Now we have an opportunity with all the Gulf states in opposition to Iran and what they're doing, with Russia and China running, to the hinterlands away from Iran. We really have a chance now for normalization in the Middle East with the Ayatollah and his regime taken out, and the idea of the Saudis and the Israelis side by side in peace. To me, finally, we have a chance for that. And that's why I'll be opposing this resolution.
But do you have any concerns at all, Congressman McCaul, that Congress is relinquishing its authority when it comes to war? Would you vote, for example, the same way if a Democrat controlled the White House?
That is a great question, the ultimate issue. The Constitution says Congress has the power to declare war, and yet the president's the commander-in-chief. The War Powers Act, after Vietnam, was sort of a compromise between that conflict in the Constitution. I think the better practice is always to go to the Congress, who are working on behalf of the American people, and work with them on an authorization of use of military force. I was working to repeal and replace the 2001 AUMF last year, but we didn't get enough support from the left and the right. But what it did was it updated the terror threat to include the Shia proxies of Iran in there. I think that was prescient. I think that's the kind of authorization, if you add Iran to it, is something we could pass bipartisan if we could get enough Democrats on board.
All right, Congressman Mike McCaul, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Wolf. Thanks for having me.